Hi guys, welcome to my channel. My name is Michelle Vaisaga and I am the crafty chick behind Chel's Beats. I'm super excited to be here on YouTube sharing all of these fun projects with you, and your support in my artistic journey means the absolute world to me. So today we're going to be making an autumn inspired piece of wall art, and I always find that I get inspiration in probably the strangest places. I'm constantly inspired by being outdoors and things that I see around me. And yes, even Target. So I went to Target the other day, and in their dollar spot, they had a plain wooden sign kit that I'm assuming was meant to just have a little paint slapped on it, maybe glue the pieces on, and there you go. But I had to take it and glam it up. So today our project is a autumn inspired wall art. And I just know that you guys are gonna have so much fun with this. We're going to use some mixed media skills here, and we're going to put all these pieces together to create a gorgeous piece that would look amazing in your entryway, something to hang on the wall when people come in and see it. And I just think it's going to look amazing. Keep in mind, guys, that you can add whatever touch you'd like to this. This is just my take on the colors. Whatever you have available, I'm sure is going to look amazing. Make sure to tag me on social media if you do recreate this piece, because I would love to see how they turn out. Just a quick reminder, all of the items that I use will be listed and linked in the description box below, and you might even find a discount code there or two. So if you're ready, let's get started. To get started, guys, this is everything that you will need. As you can see, we have our glitter, we have some paint off to the side there, and we have our sign. I love working with pieces like this because it really opens the imagination and allows us to create anything we want. We can also match our home decor, so that's really cool. To get started first, though, we are going to need to take some measurements. We are going to be laying a piece of heavyweight scrapbook paper on the inside to give us a background. So we're going to need to take the width and the height of this so we can enter it into Cricut Design Space later to cut our paper out. To get started, though, we're going to prep the base of our frame. And to do this, I'm using Ceramcoat Oyster Weight. This is one of my favorite off-whites, and we are just going to base coat the frame with this. I just chose to do the outside and that top edge that you can see when you're looking on the piece head on, but you could base coat the whole thing if you wanted. I didn't bother because I was also going to be adding paint to the Mod Podge, so just left it at that. Once we have our paint, we're going to take a nice flat brush and we're just going to paint all of those outside edges. Once we have that completed, we don't even really have to wait for it to dry. We can just set it off to the side. We're going to move into Cricut Design Space, and we are going to be cutting out that paper that we will need for the inside. Now we're going to go into Cricut Design Space so we can create our paper cutout for the inside. Click on Shapes and go to your square. We're going to unlock the proportions so that we can create a rectangle. Go ahead and enter in the dimensions that you measured earlier. For this, we're doing 6.625 by 10.5. Once you have that ready, go ahead and click Make It. And once you come into the screen where you can choose your materials, you're going to go ahead and click on medium cardstock, which is 80 pound. I select more pressure so that we get a really, really nice even cut and there's no paper snags. Make sure you're using a blade designated for paper. You don't want to dull the blade that you would use for your regular vinyl cutouts. When it's done, you're going to remove the paper from the mat and we'll be ready to install it into the frame. The paper that I'm using came from a paper pack from Michaels, but you could use whatever you have on hand that matches your design. For this, I'm going to test the fit, and then we're going to move right into applying the Mod Podge. For this, I go ahead and take the leftover Oyster White paint and mix equal parts of Mod Podge with it, just giving it a little stir to mix it all up. This is going to be the adhesive, and this technique is called Decoupaging, which just means adhering paper to wood. I'm going to use my 2-inch chip brush to apply the paint and glue mixture and get it all worked in, especially to those edges. We want to make sure that all of those spots that are vulnerable that could prevent the paper from sticking are all nice and covered with this mixture. As soon as we get that all covered, we're going to take that piece of paper and lay it inside. Once we have it in, we're going to make sure to press down really, really nicely, paying attention to those edges and running your finger along there. You might even use a boning tool if you have it, just to make sure that you get it really nice and stuck down. We're going to move directly into coating it with our first layer of Mod Podge. This acts like a sealant and is really kind of the final step in doing a decoupage project. I'm applying a pretty thin coat. We don't want too heavy of a layer because unfortunately the Mod Podge, although it dries clear, if it's too thick, it can get a little cloudy. As you can see, I chose this brush because the brush strokes kind of mimic that wood grain look that I loved so much about the paper. Make sure that you are keeping close attention to those edges again. We're going to come in with our finger and we're just going to really press down. And once we do that, we're going to come back in with the brush and clean all that up so we have those really nice brush strokes again. Now it's time for the fun part. We're going to glitter our elements that will be placed inside of this frame. And to start off with, we're going to take Hello Fall. And we are going to be base coating this with a little bit of paint and Mod Podge mixture, just so that we can tint the background. For this, I'm using Black Plum from Americana and mixing it with equal parts of the Mod Podge. This is so any of the glitter that might not stick down, we won't really see it because instead of having that pale background, we're going to see that purple paint, which is going to coordinate nice with our glitter. For the glitter today, we are going to be using a beautiful color from Chaos Glitter Company called Mr. P. I always lay down a piece of notebook paper so that I can catch all of that excess glitter and dump it right back into the package. As you can see, I'm also tidying up all of these edges here. I use the back of a paintbrush. I also use my X-Acto knife and even a little silicone tool that I have. We're going to continue painting this piece, working in small sections because Mod Podge does dry very quickly, so we don't want to get through the whole piece only to find that our paint has dried. We're going to continue working this, and as soon as all the glitter's applied, I'm going to show you how to do all the final cleanup so that we have that nice, crisp lettering. As you can see here, I'm using the tip of my X-Acto knife to go ahead and coax all of those pieces in. As soon as we're done glittering, we're going to come into the whole word and we're going to clean up all of the insides of the letters as well as make sure that all of our angles are free of stray pieces of glitter. This is so much easier with the X-Acto knife than with the paintbrush because it has a nice sharp edge. Once we are done with that, we're going to have a beautiful sparkly Hello Fall. Look at that glitter shine, guys. So now we need to add another layer of Mod Podge to the base of our project. This is going to be done in a couple of stages, so you just want to keep in mind that you're going to add about 2 to 3 coats of Mod Podge in order to get that final finish that we need to have. You can see I'm just brushing on that same thin coat that I did in the previous step. While the layer of Mod Podge dries, we're going to move into our pumpkins. You're going to go ahead and take Diamond and Dust Olive U. It's a beautiful metallic green, and applying just a little bit of Mod Podge to these stems using your fine paintbrush. We're going to sprinkle the Olive U on, tap each one of those off just to get it done, and look at that shine for that. I love all these little details that are going to totally make these pumpkins pop. Moving on, we're going to start painting and glittering the body of our pumpkins. I like to use my Silpat Mat as a little palette to mix up, and we're going to mix Canyon Orange from Americana with equal parts of Mod Podge and stir it up. We're going to be applying them in sections, and the first glitter color we're going to be using is the Great Pumpkin from Chase Ray Glitters. This is a beautiful chunky mix. Then we're going to use Carrots, which is a metallic orange from Chase Ray Glitters, and Hot Sauce from Chase Ray Glitters, which is a beautiful coral pumpkin color. It's going to add a lot of nice contrast. The next color I actually hand blended using Dunes from Chase Ray and Blaze from Diamond and Dust. And at first I did a 1-to-1 ratio, but I realized that to get that golden pumpkin color, sorry guys, I needed 3 parts of the Blaze to 1 part of the Dunes. Once we have those all mixed up, you're going to go ahead and start painting in your sections. We're going to keep these sections random, meaning I'm not going to add this same glitter order to each piece because I want each pumpkin to have its own unique personality. And let's face it, if they were all the same, it would be pretty boring. So go ahead and just alternate your glitter colors as you see me doing here. For the first one, I did start off making that first line the same color, and that's what kind of made me decide that I wanted to switch it up a little bit and just paint each section and add a different kind of glitter in a different order. Keep that X-Acto knife handy that we used on the Hello Fall, because when you go to apply the Great Pumpkin, since it is a chunkier mix, you're going to want to make sure that you have some way to kind of get it in line. You'll see me applying it here and then using my blade to coax that glitter back into that section. Once you have all of your sections glittered, we're going to move on to assembling our piece. Guys, don't worry about all the glitter that is falling from these pumpkins. As I started to work with it, I realized that all of these colors make a beautiful mix together, and it'll be something you can save for a future project. So when you're done glittering, just dump all of that back into a container and you'll have a custom mix. Wanted to show you guys the Hello Fall up close and personal before we move on. So after we're done with those elements, I wanted to add a little bit more to our base layer. For that, I'm going to be taking a little bit of Mod Podge and these copper and gold flakes, and we're going to be gilding some random spots on the frame. I really like the way this played on the metallic look that was already on that base paper. Unfortunately, some of that gets lost when you put the Mod Podge over it, so this was a way to add that extra little bit of dimension. Make sure you're burnishing it in really good and removing all of the excess off of it so it's not a problem later. You'll see that I add it to several spots on this piece, and when we're done, the extra shine that it gives is just incredible. Now we're going to move on to a technique called dry brushing, and this is going to give the piece an even more weathered look. We're going to take that same oyster white from before, and we're going to load a very light fan brush. And we're going to brush most of that paint off as you see me doing on that paper towel. And we're going to come into areas and just add this weathering look. It reminds me of like old whitewashed barnwood or something like an old fence post. You don't want to apply much pressure. You just want to let it lightly feather touch the areas that you want to highlight with this paint. This is not something to add a ton to. We just want it accented. Now we're going to adhere all of our pieces. I'm using E6000 glue. Alternatively, you could use a glue gun. Keep in mind, guys, E6000 is a very volatile glue, and you really need to be in a well-ventilated area or use some PPE like a mask. I'm going to map out where I'd like the pieces. And another tip, guys, this frame already comes with hardware. So you're going to want to flip it around and just make sure that your hardware is orienting correctly so that when you go to apply your pieces, you're not left with an upside down sign. Ask me how I know this. I almost made that mistake. Flipping it over, you can see where the hardware is and you'll know where to put your pieces. I apply a little bit of E6000 to the back of each piece, And on the Hello Fall, since it's really intricate, I'm just like kind of smushing the tip of that down in there so that there's not too much paint that comes glopping out of the tube. If you guys have worked with E6000 before, then you know that stuff just keeps coming out whether you want it to or not. This kind of gave me a little bit more control over that and allowed me not to get it all over the place. And guys, if you're worried, you could use gloves when you're doing this. I just didn't think to put them on. We're going to apply the pumpkins in the same way, just adding to the back of each pumpkin. And then we're going to choose our pumpkin placement. I decided for this that I wanted more of a pumpkin patch look. So I placed them against the bottom of the frame and I placed them at different angles to give a little bit more interest. Once we have this last pumpkin down, that's it, guys. This project is finished. Thank you so much for hanging out with me while we make this beautiful piece of art. I really enjoy doing this because we took something plain and we jazzed it up and made it into a beautiful piece of art. If you guys like this video, please consider subscribing to my channel. It would mean the absolute world to me. Make sure to like this video, comment down below, and hit that bell button so you never miss a minute of the fun. Until next time, guys, stay creative.